Hi everyone and welcome back to ProCentral, the communication series designed especially for engineers. I'm your communication coach Suman. Things are really heating up now. In the last episode, we looked at 4 different styles of communication: passive, passive-aggressive and assertive. We also learned how each one looks and how to identify them. And finally, we looked at the modes of communication. In this episode, we will look at how to optimize face-to-face communication. And there are a lot of important skills which require effective face-to-face communication. And we will look at those in this episode. You will also learn how to keep communication alive on virtual mediums. So let's get started. The first concept we'll talk about in this episode is related to something that we learned in the last one: assertive style of communication. If you recall, the assertive style is the sweet spot to be in as a versatile communicator, and it involves being respectful to oneself and to others. Assertiveness is not just about the ability to confidently ask for what you want. It also helps you become effective in a lot of other situations, like handling conflicts, resolving them, negotiations, giving and receiving feedback. During the series, you will see assertive skills coming up in a context of all these situations. Let's look at a few examples and understand this further. You're at a job interview. The interview goes really well. But then you think you deserve higher pay or a better position than you're being offered. What do? Being passive will not help. But demanding aggressively can only get you kicked out. So you see where I'm going with this? Your only choice is to assertively thank the interviewer and calmly explain why you deserve more. The interviewer might agree or not, but at least you made your point respectfully, and this is possible only through assertiveness. So keeping this in mind, what are the reasons why assertiveness is important for a fresher or a young professional? As I mentioned in the example, it'll help you project self-confidence and assurance because you're not afraid to ask what you want. It reduces social anxiety and stress since you don't worry about pleasing others. You respect them and yourself. It improves relationships with your peers because when you treat them with respect, everybody likes it. And most importantly, it is great for your personal brand. When people associate you with confidence, it's always a good thing for the future. But then why is it so hard to be assertive and tell people what you really want? Most of us have a hard time being assertive because we are afraid. It's better to go with the flow. In other words, be passive. Or be forceful and loud. In other words, aggressive. But at work, how would you like to tell your team member that their report needs work? Assertively and respectfully, right? So then why is it so hard? Number one, we aren't taught to do that. Right from childhood, we are told that it is rude to be blunt. It's not a nice thing to say no. We don't have enough role models around us who clearly tell people what they want. We want to be liked by others. That is an inherent need in everybody. And lastly, there is a fear of conflict. We don't want to rock the boat. Think of an example where all your friends agree to go watch a movie, but you just want to hang out with them. You don't want to watch that film. What would be your choice here? You'll probably passively just go with it because it's rude, you want to be liked, and you don't want to create conflict. So you see how all these barriers make us difficult to be assertive. From the previous episode, you will remember how assertive style is different from passive or aggressive. It's about being confident, not too shy or too loud. The body language is assured. One of the important areas where you will need assertive skills as a young professional is when you need to say no. Saying no to someone at work or otherwise is one of the most important challenges that people face, especially women. Let's try and understand why is it so hard to say no. Some of the reasons are we are not assertive enough, because we don't want to refuse a request. In a work situation, we are afraid that it might affect our appraisals because saying no might reflect badly on us. Some people believe they just can't say no. How many times have you heard someone say, you know what, I just can't say it? But if you cannot say no, here are 3 quick tips to say no confidently in any situation. Number 1, give alternatives. Say for instance, your classmate or your roommate tells you to do something. So instead of saying, no, I can't, you probably tell them, you know what, I can't do it right now. How about try and do it tomorrow? Or if it is a work situation, maybe you refer that person to another department or another person who's going to be able to help them in a better manner. So instead of saying no, you just give them alternatives so that their work still gets done. Second, use the sandwich method. Put your negative message in between 2 positive messages. For instance, if someone comes and tells you, can you please help me with my project or my presentation? You don't want to be rude and say no. So you tell them, you know what, I think it's a great idea. I'll be happy to help you. However, I'm busy with my own deadlines right now. How about you take care of this one and I will help you the next time? So you didn't say no right away, but you said you're happy to do it. However, there's a problem, and then you end it with a positive note. So that way someone doesn't feel like you rudely said no to their face. Third one, ask for time. A lot of times you know you're going to say no anyways, but then when you ask for time, it really makes someone feel that they're important. You consider their proposition, you thought about it, and you really can't fit that into your schedule. So you could say, can I take some time to think about this and get back to you maybe in a day? I just need a little time. And that is okay too. Let's move on to another important face-to-face communication skill you will need, and that is to conduct effective meetings. If you're a student, I'm sure you've already been a lot of meetings in college, for events in your department, inviting guests for lectures, maybe organizing the college festivals. Meetings on the job are going to be similar, but a little more structured. Meetings are going to be an important part of your job, and learning how to make the most of them can be a great skill to have. Let's first look at how to organize and run good meetings. After that, we will also look at some tips to make virtual meetings more engaging. Let's start with organizing the meeting in the right manner. Organize a meeting only if you need everyone in the same room. In today's times, when a lot of people are in different locations, maybe sending an email and CCing everyone would work. Or maybe you could use apps like Trello and Slack to make sure that everybody is up to date and still they don't have to drop everything and come to a meeting. Have a clear agenda and set goals beforehand. Let everybody know what is it that you expect in terms of outcomes from this meeting. Give sufficient advance notice to everyone so that everyone actually makes it to the meeting by blocking their calendars. Assign a moderator who can control the flow of the discussion. Usually when there are a lot of people in a team, they could go into different directions, but a moderator makes sure that the group sticks to the agenda. Make sure any documents or information that is needed for the meeting will be ready by then. Hastily calling meetings when you don't have enough information is just going to waste everyone's time. Set a duration for the meeting and try to stick to it. The most common problem that people have with meetings is they're endless. They just go on and on. So put an end to it. Now, let's look at how to run an effective meeting. And these tips also apply to virtual meetings. Number 1, take 5. At the beginning of every meeting, take 5 minutes and let everybody talk about what is on top of their mind. This has become important even when people have been sitting in their homes during the pandemic, and it's a good idea to get everybody to share what they're thinking and bring them mentally to the meeting. Assign roles. Who is going to be the moderator? Who is going to take up the minutes of the meeting? Who will be responsible for bringing in information like printouts, etc.? So assign roles. So this makes sure that everyone is involved. Like I said, the moderator should be in charge of making sure that the discussion flows in the right manner, and also to draw out the silent ones and keep the loud voices under check. So this way everybody gets an opportunity to talk. Ensure that the minutes of the meeting are jotted down and sent to everyone later. So this way, every member knows what is it that they're supposed to do at the end of it. Don't let the agenda of the day get sidetracked by any new topic that comes up for discussion. Now again, the moderator has to really watch out for this because again, like I said, team members can go on their own trip and then you just lose out on what the actual goal was. Don't interrupt people when they make their point. Wait your turn. You don't want to be an aggressive communicator. Since virtual meetings are here to stay, thanks to the pandemic, I thought let's also look at a few tips that will help you project confidence on camera. Remember that you should be heard loud and clear at least once during a meeting so that people know that you are there. Be on time. Even though it's an internal meeting, be on time. And dress appropriately. You might be sitting and working at home, but when you are facing people on camera in a formal setting, it's always a good idea to get a little formal. Pay attention to your voice and its modulation because if people's cameras are off and they can't really see you and interact with you, it's your voice which is going to project you as an effective communicator. Make it a rule that everyone has to talk at least once and switch on their videos when it's their turn. This will keep people present and engaged throughout the meeting. The most important tip is to keep listeners engaged. Since people are sitting in their own homes, their videos might be switched off. You really don't know what they're up to. So make sure that you use techniques like asking questions from time to time, using the chat feature and telling them to put a yes or a no, maybe give you a thumbs up and say they're on track with what you're saying. You can pause and ask if people have any questions, and that's the time that they can answer and interact with you. These tips can go a long way in making your speaking time in virtual meetings effective. Now, I have a few hacks to make meetings even more effective. Number 1, standing meetings. According to research published by the University of Missouri, standing meetings are cut by 34%. There is something about the urgency of standing up that people want to really wind up the business of the day and move on to their jobs. Walking meetings. Studies show that walking boosts creativity by 60%. It helps get physical activity during the meeting instead of just sitting at your desk. 10-minute meetings. 10 minutes might not seem like a lot of time or duration to get anything done, but trust me, 10 minutes is enough to catch up with whatever's happening and make decisions on upcoming projects. The third skill we will talk about in this episode is negotiation skills. What is negotiation? It's a simple process by which people settle differences through compromise or agreement without getting into a dispute. For example, if you wanted the same lecture hall for an event as another department in your college, instead of putting your foot down, which would be rude, you try and reach a solution. Another relevant example is when you negotiate the terms of your job. It doesn't have to be a yes or a no, and it doesn't have to be just about the salary. There are a lot of aspects that you can look at. There are different ways to get different aspects in your favor. For instance, understand the labor market. If your industry is flourishing, it's doing really great, maybe it's a good idea to revisit the salary terms. If it's not doing so well, maybe you need to understand that there is indeed a constraint. Based on that, negotiate the terms of the money being paid or other perks that are being offered. Bundle all your asks together. Don't ask for one thing, negotiate it, argue about it. And once that is settled, you say, hey, you know what? I have one more thing. So put all of them together. Be prepared to explain why your ask is valid. Talk about your technical expertise. Talk about the projects that you worked. Talk about how you will be an asset to the organization, which is why you deserve what you're asking. Finally, be willing to consider their constraints, especially in times of the pandemic. It hasn't been really easy for organizations to offer the best of packages. So which is why once you've made your point, like I said, negotiation is all about reaching an agreement without dispute. So you also try and understand the constraint of the employer who is offering you the job. While this seems like a catch-22 situation, with practice it is possible to reach a favorable agreement without putting anyone off. Now, let's look at a few tips on ensuring success while you're negotiating at work. Number one, communication is the key. Don't step into a negotiation with your mind made and you thinking, I'm going to get what I want. You need to be open and willing to compromise. Be prepared to give something in return. Like I said, you can't get stuck with what you want. You also need to be willing to collaborate. Which brings me to the third point, have a collaborative approach. Negotiation is all about how two people can give and take and get to the best possible solution. And once again, assertive skills to the rescue. Unless you assertively ask what you want, respecting both parties, it's not going to work. Moving on to the last skill that we will cover in this episode, giving and receiving feedback. This is something that's going to be very important on your job, especially as a leader. Why is giving and getting feedback so important? It improves confidence. Imagine if someone on the job tells you what you're doing well and what you need to do well, wouldn't you go ahead and confidently do what you're already doing well and also cover up and do well in what you're lacking? It avoids miscommunication. Say someone asks you to do something. You understand it according to your experiences, prejudices. But if someone were to directly ask, did you get it? And give you feedback to cover the gaps, it avoids miscommunication. It gets work done on time because there is no miscommunication. People are very clear about what they need to do. The work gets done. I'd like to share a few tips starting with the book 1 Minute Manager by Ken Blanchard and Spencer Johnson on the topic of management. The book says that whether your feedback is good or bad, take a minute and give that feedback right away. Don't wait till you're in appraisals. Don't wait for another situation to come up and you say, you know what, you did the same thing last week. You take a minute and you deal with it right away. When you offer feedback, always focus on the behavior. See, your coworker comes late. Address the behavior of coming late. Don't try and open up a whole lot of other issues. Never use the word always. Because if you say you're always late, it is definitely going to offend people and they're not going to be receptive to your feedback. Another important tip is to balance your feedback with praise. If you say that you were late today, however, I love the report that you submitted. That's a great way to give feedback. Make it timely, like I said. You see a behavior that you don't like, you take a minute and you tell somebody right away. So this way they're able to do course correction right away rather than waiting for you to make an entire list and tell them at the end of the quarter or the year. Another important rule to follow with feedback is to do it in private. You praise in public, but you criticize in private. Take people aside, tell them what is the problem, discuss it with them, and make sure it's all fine. Offer help to get better. It's not always enough to just say you come late every morning to work. Your conversation could try and understand what is the problem. Are there personal issues? Is there something else happening in your coworker's life? When you try and look at it in a problem-solving manner, the feedback goes a step beyond just telling them what is wrong. It's also helping them how to fix it. Now, let's look at what are we going to do when we get feedback, when someone is telling us how we can do things better. Firstly, listen attentively. Remember what we learned about listening in one of the previous episodes. Don't keep thinking your defense to what someone is saying. Which brings me to my second point, don't defend. More often than not, when someone tells you that you're not doing something properly, our response starts with a but. But I didn't have enough information. But I tried my best. But I didn't know I was supposed to do that. Don't defend. If someone felt something is not going right, listen to them and be receptive. Finally, ask questions to better understand what went wrong. You could ask questions like, what made you think that the report wasn't up to the mark? What would you say I can do better the next time? So this brings us to the end of this episode, and boy, did we cover a lot of topics. So before I go, let's do a quick revision of what we covered in today's session. We discussed the skills for effective face-to-face communication. We looked at how assertive style can help you as students and young professionals. We learned about the importance of saying no and how to use it to assert yourself. We also covered how to organize and conduct effective meetings. And finally, we moved on to negotiation skills and how to give and receive feedback constructively. That's a lot to learn and practice. If this is a little overwhelming, make sure that you go back and re-watch the session for an even deeper understanding of the concepts. In the next episode, we will learn how to connect with your audience through different modes of communication, with a few practical tips which will help you as young professionals. If you like the episode, hit like, share it with your friends, comment and tell us what you thought, and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss the future episodes. I will see you in the next episode. Thank you.